जग में भेजा निर्मल देकर काया। आकर के संसार में मैंने इसको दाग लगाया। जन्म जन्म की मैली चादर कैसे दाग छुड़ाऊं, मैली चादर ओढ़ के कैसे द्वार तुम्हारे आऊं, मैली चादर ओढ़ के कैसे।
Om Sai Ram, brothers and sisters. A warm welcome to this again, one of the bi-weekly sessions that we have been, Swami has inspired and held us on to. Ever since we started with the COVID days last year in February, somehow he inspired us to carry on. And as we call it, is a bi-weekly vaccine. It's important also to understand in today's parlance that possibly while we are taking this vaccine via Namasmarana or individual sadhana on a daily basis, these satsang sessions becomes like a booster vaccine. You know, they boost us up, they charge us up to move on ahead with our individual journeys. It's like a Wi-Fi hotspot when we come together in Science Center for the bhajans, where we can download as much as we can to retain ourselves for the next few weeks till we meet again. Brothers and sisters, it's important to understand while we attempt to tune into Bhagwan, satsang brings us closer in the sense that it shares the energy, the positive energy that all of us have to help some of us who are still struggling. So it helps us to tune into God, you know. And by the way, once we have done that, it tries to reconnect and establish that broken link which we had when we came in, right? And this is something which is very, very important. And I personally, when we prepare, when we try to walk on this satsang journey, it's a beautiful reconnect with the divine. Your whole being gets transmuted, gets completely, you know, soused with the divine spirit when you start looking for some of its messages as relevant. Request, please keep your mic off if you can, or Brother Shastri can help us to identify and do it. Thank you. So this satsang journey is again to reconnect, reroute in all possible ways to get back to Bhagwan. And until we physically complete this sojourn on the earth for which we have come or which we have been destined with for the unfulfilled desires or whatever we may call it, while we are here, it establishes the connection again. It's important that we keep digging. You know, Bhagwan said that there's no point in digging 10 meters at different places in search of water. We should be able to drill at one place, bore at one place, so that we reach the source. And while we drill, as you see, when you know people drill for water in India, when in summer vacations you don't have water coming out, the water table has gone down, they start drilling it, sometimes 100 meters, 100 feet, 200 feet. And what happens when we finally drill, it may not be the first attempt, it may be 3 days, 2 days. And finally, when we touch that, the water sprouts up. Brothers and sisters, this drilling of Namasmarana, of devotion, is something like that. We keep drilling on the same name, on the same Bhagavan, so that finally when it touches that source, finally when we connect it, the love of Swami, the love of Sai within sprouts like the gush of water which comes out. Right? So it's important that we keep drilling at the same place, we keep striking at the same place. So not like in this image as we see when the person is striking and trying to reach almost the, you know, the hidden treasure, and when he takes a back off. It's very important that persistence, perseverance is extremely important. One name, one form, ek asan, एक नाम, एक मंत्र, एक जपा, एक रूपा, एक आस्था, एक निष्ठा, एक ईश्वर, एक सत्य साई. And in that case, when we start establishing that, brothers and sisters, in the din of the world, as you see in this photograph, in entire thing playing around us, we will be able to zoom in like Arjuna did for fish eye, you know, when he was sitting it. We will be able to zoom in only Sai, or we'll be able to see him in the things around us. And that's an important part when we connect again on bi-weekly basis. A very important reminder, when we wake up, feel that we are entering the stage to play the role assigned. Every day we are getting up to play the role assigned. And pray that, let's pray that we act it best to the way that Bhagwan is pleased. It's very important. You know, when one time when I was listening to one of the discourses when student Swami was showing that he was upset and angry with the students and he was not talking to them. It went on for a couple of months, and the intensity of yearning, you know, the students realized that it was a daily thing which they got very easily, started praying and praying and praying. And one fine day, Bhagwan, when he was walking around, he said, Swami, Swami, please, Swami, please, Swami, please, Swami. You know, they were ardently yearning to say, Swami, please talk to me, please, Swami. You know what beautifully Swami said? He turned around, he said, for please Swami, please Swami. That means if you please Swami, if you make him happy, you don't have to beg for like this. And how he can be happy is when we dedicate all these talks, words, thoughts and deeds that Bhagwan is happy with it. That's what it is written. Earn his approbation. Feel that you are entering the green room and the role and the costume is still on. It's not yet over. Perhaps we have to make an enter. The whole puppeteer, the Sutradhari is Bhagwan. Perhaps he has to still keep pulling the string for us in what costume we are in. That is to say, live in the present, which is omnipresent. And then he goes on to say, for perhaps the role is not yet over. You have not yet been permitted to take it off. Do not worry about that. Place yourself fully at his disposal. Do not worry is related to faith. And place yourself fully at disposal is complete Sharanagati. It's a surrender. A lot of these things are loaded in this particular thought of the day, which was flashed. He has written the play. He knows how it will go on. Yours is but to act and retire. Again, a very important reminder of Nishkama Karma. Brothers and sisters, extremely important. Bhagwan says, how can faith and experience, people start debating, first I should have experience, then you should have faith. You know, experience leads to faith. Not necessarily, Bhagwan has said, first you must believe, you must show interest. You must show that one step. For one step that you take, which Draupadi did when Krishna's finger was injured, she did not look around for cloth as everybody else was running around. She tore her sari and bound it on the cut finger of Krishna. And that one step she took, there was meters and meters, probably a Guinness Book of record of sari's length, which was, you know, rolled down when she actually needed it. And that's important for us to understand, that faith. So let's develop this deep interest, and the very fact that we are somewhere or the other connected into Science of John shows us that we have that deep interest to know and connect to Bhagavan. These deep interests will lead us into the faith and devotion, right? It leads us to the next ladder, which is like Sabri. She just heard from Matanga Rishi that Lord Rama will come one day. And for years, brothers and sisters, look at the patience, perseverance, and the faith that she had. She used to clean the ways that Rama will come one day. That is the faith. And when faith dawns in, slowly comes into the big picture, we start understanding why it is happening, why my life, these events have happened. I know this is for the betterment, and then the acceptance comes in. And when all these things come in, you have reached to a state, Sharanagati, where we start unconditionally accepting that, yes, it is his prasadam, whether it is, you know, sweet or bitter, everything is his prasadam. So that's an important part of this journey, complete sojourn, that we have to come to this. And before we get into today's module, which was 9 forms of devotion, which we will start today, gradually we'll build up and go in the following weeks. It's important to understand the whole gambit, why Bhagavan has laid up this foundation of Satsang Seva organization, or wherever we are doing Bhagavan's mission, whatever, like squirrel or monkeys or banaras or rakshasas like Vibhishana did, somewhere or the other we are trying to connect to this, because we have completely been in Koham. We are in the state that we don't know who we are, and the journey is from Koham to Soham, to from whom I am to I am he. And it's important also to understand that we are not human beings having a spiritual experience, rather change our mindset and look at it. We are spiritual beings who have come down to have a human experience. No wonder when Bhagwan says Divya Atma Swarup Lara, he means it. He sees the Divya Atmas in all of us, and we have to elevate ourselves by various individual and Vyaktigat and community sadhana that we are engaged to come to this level, right? So these 9 forms of devotion, as has been, you know, this was outlined and given, showered by Lord Rama to Sabri when he was intensely satisfied with Sabri's devotion. He rolled out these 9 forms of devotion, which was again brought up in Bhagavatam when it was being narrated by Sukha Rishi to Parikshit. So there are 9 flavors of devotion, brothers and sisters. Not every flavor we may be, following or getting adapted to. We may not be conscious about which one we are in, but it's very important for us to understand that these are the recipes given by the Lord himself and reinforced by Bhagavan during his discourses. What are they? They are Shravanam. What we are doing now is Shravanam. What we are going to listen to Brother Nishant is Shravanam. Shravanam is one of the very, very potent tool which Parikshit proved in his life by listening to Bhagavatam for a week. He could redeem himself. Then is Kirtanam, singing the glories, right? Kirtanam has got Kirtanam and Sankirtanam. Kirtanam is individual and Sankirtanam is when community we come together. Then Smaranam, again very important. We touched upon this topic in the preceding weeks when how do we art of leaving the world when we leave. Smaranam, the word Maranam is there. That means we should inculcate in our being that we are able to remember God in the toughest of situations so that when the time comes, we actually remember him. Pada Sevanam, service to the lotus feet of Bhagwan. That is various seva activities we do, because when we consider him present in all the beings, then the service we render to Manava is going to the Madhava. Vandanam, salutation. Archanam, worship of the Lord. It talks about offerings. How do we offer? What kind of flowers we offer? We'll speak about that in the weeks to come. Dasyam, again, servitude attitude, right? So, Sakhyam, companionship of the Lord, friendship with the Lord. And last but not the least, Atma Nivedanam. As you know, the pinnacle of any form of devotion is Saranagati, surrender, Samarpan. And that has to come. Until that, the journey is not consummated, because till Saranagati comes, I and he exist. When Saranagati, when it all blends, then your will blends in his will, and we become embodiments of divine. We are not the doer anymore. And that is important in this. Now, when we talk about this, we should also reflect on the 9 code of conduct which Bhagwan laid out for all the Sai devotees. It's very important just to touch a little bit basically upon it. All the 9 forms of devotion that he had stated, I will not get into that, because that's a different study circle in itself, and we might take in some time. But important part here is connected to the 9 forms of devotion or the prayers that we are going to talk about. There are a few things which is emphasized in this 9 code of conduct, where Bhagwan says devotional singing prayer with the members of the family. Attendance at least once a month at the Bhajan or Nagar Sankirtan program, depending on whichever way we are going to the Sai centers that we are doing in, or the Mandiram, or the Gurudwaras, or the Masjid, wherever you feel connected to the Lord, to your Master. Participation in community service, seva programs, where you completely annihilate your ego. You don't know who is the recipient, and you are serving and giving your being for a person whom you don't know. You're not going to connect, and that is what is selfless seva. And then regular study of the Sai literature. So all these facets of the 9 points of code of conduct connect to the 9 forms of devotion or the Kirtanam that we are going to talk about. Let's understand how Bhagwan has defined for us devotion. Bhagwan says, what is devotion? Who are the devotees? Devotion is faith, steadiness, virtue, fearlessness, surrender, and absence of egoism. Very important. Absence of egoism. That means you, Bhakta, and Bhagavan becomes one. Worship done, however, elaborately and pompously in sheer waste of time and energy. Why pluck the flowers? Now look at this statement. Why pluck the flowers and hasten them to death? Some of you go around this Nilayam and satisfy yourself that you have done so many circumambulations. That means you are moving around the Prashant Nilayam or the Mandiram. We do the Pradakshina, right? But they can be called so only when your mind circles the place with your feet. It's talking about not the physical feet, not the ritual, but the mind as well. I noticed that while your feet are taking you around, by force of habit, your tongue blabbers about the fault of others, or the price of vegetable, or the dishes you propose to cook. Before you start on your rounds, which is called Pradakshina, Bhagwan says, give your mind as Dakshina to the indweller, to the resident temple of the Lord. How beautiful he has explained the basic rituals, Archanam, whatever we carry. What is the significance? How are we connected? Is thought, word, and deed, the Trikana Shuddhi, is there that point of time? If it is not, brothers and sisters, we are not. And it's important to draw a parlance here. The difference, the demarcation between a devotee and a worshipper. We end up being ritualistic more at times. So worshipper focuses on sadhan. Sadhan is the means to, you get flowers, you get coconut, you arrange this, you arrange havam and all that. Those process is fine. But have you connected during that process? No. And there is one of these radio article where one of the devotees, after listening to Swami's discourse, he says, I understood that I was best being a worshipper thus far, right? And then what is then different from a worshipper and devotee? A devotee's focus is on the sadhana and not the sadhan, right? It's important that he remains connected. A devotee, on the other hand, Bhagavan says, has no reason to love God. This is perhaps why Swami sings, no reason for love, no season for love. The classic example Bhagavan says is Ravana is a great worshipper while Hanuman is a great devotee. That's the difference. That the difference, brothers and sisters, sometimes we have to evaluate and understand what does Bhagavan want from us when we offer. He says that serve Sai not with vratas, processions, rituals, puja, abhishekam or paraphernalia. Serve Sai with satkarma, satvichara, satachara, satvakya. Then the good thoughts, words and deeds, right? And the bhavam is so important. So it's important to understand that difference where we are in, what is the 9 forms of devotion is going to connect to, what is devotion as Bhagavan has explained before we embark in this journey. And Mother Teresa says, I used to believe that the prayers changes things outside, but no, the prayers changes us. And we then change the things, or we start looking to things. We saw the triangle, you know, for the surrender, where it is the acceptance comes in, you know, the awareness comes in, the big picture dawns. And that's important. We start looking at, Swami here says in Satsang speaks, you may not be able to see the transformation that comes within you by your good actions and prayer. You may not even be able to visualize it with your mind, yet this transformation in you is sure to attract God's grace. That means wherever, whatever activity, small or big, we are doing in, brothers and sisters, as long as we are doing in the awareness of Bhagavan as an offering to Bhagavan or connecting him in some way or the other, it is reaching him, and he's probably going to get us his grace. Life's race, as we all see in different facets, personal, professional, it's a race until we add the word G, which is alphabet G is God, then it becomes grace. And that is important. The moment we try to divinize the activities we have, it becomes devotion. And when it becomes to that, Bhagavan says, grace can countermand all that, nothing can stand in its way. It is the grace of the Almighty. Remember, as we saw in the case of Bilva Mangala, which was Suradas, when he was earlier, you know, he used to be very enamored by women. He used to go around, and then he got married. And then he went up one day, finally in breezy storm, and all that. Wife said, why can't you dedicate your life to Lord Krishna? And then he started meditating. He became an ascetic. He started performing, you know, sadhana. And he reached to a certain stage where he used to feel the divine presence. One day he went to take water, and that water, there was another princess who had come over there. And again, the old chitta, the old vasana, somewhere or the other, we all struggle with this. But we have to be very conscious. That came in, and he followed that woman. When he went there, his name was so much in the village that the businessman whose wife he was, he said, yes, Swami, how can I help you? He says, this is what it is. And when he goes in, he suddenly gets this divine understanding. What am I up to? You know, like Nasha toot gaya, his intoxication broken. And he asks a hair clip from that woman. She gives it, and he plucks his eyes, he destroys, he removes his eyes, becomes a Surdas. He says, what is the use of this eyes which is deviating me from the goal? And then Bhagavan Swami says that Nama Smarana and the chain of destiny cannot coexist. Look at the power of this statement. The destiny in Nama Smarana, if we are deeply connected with this devotion, with Nama Smarana, it cannot coexist. The result of the past action will melt away like fog before the sun when the remembrance of the name is done. So 9 forms of devotion. The devotion that we are going to deal with, brothers and sisters, has got so much of potency, right? And he says when the grace comes into our life, when we do this, it takes away the malignancy of the karma. You know, there are dated drugs which are declared ineffective of certain date. The effect of karma is rendered null. Everything which was pre-written, brothers and sisters, it becomes rewritten in his whole. He will script a new history for us, or he will give us the strength to walk over without even feeling the pain, right? Lord Buddha used to say, you know, suffering is inevitable, but pain is optional. You will not feel the pain. You will undergo it, but you will not feel it, like a morphine injection. So what does this devotion do to us? What is it expected to do? What happens is our mind is, again, we are programmed with a certain software. With 10% is a conscious mind, and 90% what they say is subconscious mind, right? So there is certain thought impulses which resides in our being, correct? And we all have heard about the brain waves depending on the different state of our being. We'll not discuss, we had elaboratedly discussed in the earlier sessions. But important is each of these thoughts, how prominent and how intense they are, they hold an anchor in our subconscious being. Now, when we want to change, when we want to consciously walk into this path of devotion, surrender, or dedicate, what starts happening is a thought process gets ensconced, gets buried. Let's say we are going to do an seva. So now the seva becomes a priority. When it becomes a priority, it anchors itself in your subconscious being. You are ready to plan your life and things, activities in coming days to center it around seva so that the seva doesn't get disturbed. Now, when that happens, a new center is born in your subconscious mind, right? And that starts enlarging. As you can see in this figure, you know, the black and the gray and then brown, and then slowly the ignition, the spark which was ignited starts guiding a flame. So that devotion center is increasing, that love is increasing for Bhagwan. So it's like repeated thoughts. It's like a field. When you walk, you don't make a track until you keep walking on that field, and then you see a track. Subconscious mind is same thing like that. You know, whatever we keep repeatedly thinking makes a track, makes a groove, and then our center, what we have focused on to develop, starts expanding. Once it starts expanding, it covers the whole being. So we start thinking positive. We start being in his presence, thinking about it. This is what devotion, this is what Namasmara, this is what 9 forms of devotions is going to do, or is doing to already to all of us, right? And then Sarva Karma Bhagavad Priti-artham. All your karma. Now remember, karma is not only action. Karma is also when we think certain things, it's already an action done in the laws of God. So karma is what you think, what you see, what you feel, what you behave, everything. So when this devotion center, when this thing envelops us, we start doing everything which pleases God. And when it pleases God, grace is inevitable outcome of that, brothers and sisters, right? So before we get into Brother Nishant, let's see Swami's small video on this, on what he has said about devotion and about the 9 forms of devotion.
Today we have devotion without faith.
కేవలం శ్వాసము లేని జీవితము జరుగుతూ ఉంటుండాలి.
The life without breath.
దీనిని చెప్పారు ఇంద్రియ నిగ్రహానికి. కాడి కిందికి రాని ఎద్దు, కళ్ళము లేని గుర్రము, బ్రేకులు లేని కారు, ఇంద్రియ నిగ్రహం లేనటువంటి జీవితము నిరుపయోగము అన్నారు.
Therefore, the bull without yoke and the horse without the reins and the car without brakes are useless. Brakeless car.
కనుకనే ఈ విధమైనటువంటి దీనికి మనం సరైనటువంటి దీక్షను పూనాలి.
We should determine
అన్నింటికి నామస్మరణే ప్రధానము.
For everything, Lord's name is important.
ఈ నామచింతన లేక ఇంకే విధమైనటువంటి దీంతో కూడాను మన జీవితం అనే నామను దాటడానికి వీలు కాదు.
Without chanting Lord's name, it's not possible to cross this line.
ఈ నామమే మన జీవితానికి ఒక పెద్ద నావ.
This Lord's name is the very boat.
ఈ నావను ఎంతకాలమైనా సముద్రంలో పెట్టుకొని ప్రయాణం చేయవచ్చు.
You can travel for any length of time in this boat.
నావ కింద ఎంత జలమైనా ఉండవచ్చును.
There will be a lot of water.
కానీ నావ లోపల జలము చేర్చితివా ప్రమాదం అవుతుంది.
The moment water enters into the boat, it will be dangerous.
జలము నావలో ఉండనప్పటికీ పర్వాలేదు. ప్రమాదం అవుతుంది.
But if the boat is on the water, it is safe. But when the water gets into
ప్రాకృతమైనటువంటి భావములు జీవితం అనేటువంటి దీంట్లో మనం ప్రవేశించుకున్నప్పటికీ నామం అనేటువంటి చింతన చేసినప్పుడు నిశ్శబ్దంగా, నిర్మలంగా, నిస్వార్థంగా నామచింతన చేయాలి.
As we repeat Lord's name, we should repeat it, chant it selflessly with a pure heart.
ఆడంబరంగా కానీ,
not with pomp,
లేక అహంకారంగా కానీ
ego,
నామమును ఉచ్చరించకూడదు.
You should never be egoistic, full of pride as you repeat God's name.
ఈ నవవిధ మార్గముల లోపల ఏ మార్గమునైనా నీవు అనుసరించమని చెప్పారు.
You may follow any path, any one of the paths.
ఎట్ట మనం అనుభవించాలి?
Where?
ప్రశాంతమైనటువంటి భావంతో, నిర్మలమైనటువంటి హృదయంతో, నిస్వార్థమైనటువంటి చిత్తముతో శ్రవణం.
With all the purity, in all peace, you should chant God's name.
Kirtanam.
Listening, the singing.
Vishnu Smaranam.
Chanting.
Padasevanam.
Service.
Vandanam.
Salutation.
Archanam.
Worship.
Sneham.
Friendship.
Atmanivedanam.
Surrender. You should picturize the form as you repeat the name.
Namasmarana.
That is true chanting.
ఈ కలియుగమునందు అదే మనకు ప్రధానమైనటువంటి ప్రాణము.
In this age of Kali, that is the very life.
ధ్యానము. కృతయుగ ధ్యానము,
In the Krita age meditation,
త్రేతాయుగ యజ్ఞము,
in Treta
ద్వాపర
Yajna,
యుగం అర్చనము,
in Dwapara worship,
కలియుగం నామస్మరణ.
in Kali age
హరే
chanting Lord's
నామ
name.
హరే నామ హరే నామ ఇవ కేవలం కలౌ నాస్త్యేవ 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 గతిరన్యత. ఈ కలియుగంలో నామస్మరణకు మించినటువంటిది సులభమైన మార్గం మరొకటి లేదు.
There's no other easier path in this age of Kali other than Lord's name.
ప్రయాణం చేస్తూ మనసులో నీవు నామస్మరణ చేసుకోవచ్చు.
You can repeat God's name as you
నిద్ర
travel.
వచ్చేంత వరకు నామస్మరణ చేసుకోవచ్చును.
You can repeat
ఏ
God's
పనులు
name to the end.
చేస్తున్నప్పటికీ నామస్మరణ చేయవచ్చు.
Any work you may do.
కనుకుని అట్టి పవిత్రమైనటువంటి సులభమైన మార్గం ఈ కలిలో ఏర్పడింది.
Such a easy sacred path is present now.
కలియుగం చాలా సులభమైనటువంటిది తరించడానికి.
This is very easy path in this age of Kali.
So that I think that is where befittingly we are going to end this today in our usual session for the 9 forms of devotion. We hope to catch up again 2 weeks time with this topic further on. Meanwhile, it's a pleasure for me to, not only pleasure, Sai love for me, I feel for Brother Nishant, who's going to join us and share his life. Sai Sajon. Brother Nishant, as good a human being is, he has been an excellent singer. I mean, I didn't know about his credentials as a singer, but I only hear him and I know that he's par excellence. But when I was searching and looking at some of his past records, we see he has been accorded with a lot of awards, singing awards. Yeah. And he's the first Singaporean to be selected Best Male Vocal Carnatic Singer in the Youth Festival in Chennai. And has also been NUS Medicine Dean's Lister for 3 consecutive years. He has been, above all, SSC student, RN devotee of Bhagwan, Sai student, mesmerizing singer, and a great role model for every one of us. I really feel happy whenever I see him, and I always wish that Swami, the future has hope, the world has hope, as long as you have created these kind of Vivekanandas around in the globe. With that, I would like to welcome brother Nishant to come on in and share his journey in Sai. Sairam, brother.
Sairam, uncle. Sairam to all respected elders, brothers and sisters. It is truly an honor, and with Swami's blessing, I'm very happy that Uncle Bindu asked me to speak today. I must say that I'm not much of a public speaker, and I also have not much experience talking about my experiences in my Sai journey. But I'm still very happy to share what I have understood in the last 27 years of my life, and of which a bulk of which has been spent in Swami's journey. And Uncle, I think it's too much to say that Vivekanandas and all, but I think I am trying, of course, my best, to the best of my ability, to stay within this path that Swami has guided us all towards. I will share my screen now, if that's okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, 1 second. One sec. Loading.
We can see it.
Okay. You are seeing the desktop now, is it?
Yeah, desktop.
Okay, let me try to change that. Get to the. Okay. Like to share. One second.
No problem. It's only going to increase our thirst.
Yeah, it is lagging a little. I don't know why. Let me do this. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, great. Okay. So again, my humble pranams at Swami's lotus feet. Whatever I speak today, I hope that he will be guiding me to say the right thing, and hopefully whatever I say is truly something that he has taught me along the way. So I'll start with the bhajan, as Uncle Bindu, who has seen me grow over the years since I was a kid, knows, bhajans are truly where I connect with Swami. Of course, there are other various facets through which I do, but bhajans have honestly been my entry into Swami's journey when I was about 7 or 8 years old. Very first time I joined simply because I loved bhajans, and then I joined SSEHV from there and began singing. But subsequently, almost constantly having grown up in Singapore over the years, I've been singing every year, and that's truly made me connect with Swami. So I will share with the bhajan first.
Sure.
Sai Ram, Sai Shyam, Mere Sai Ram. Sai Ram, Sai Shyam, Mere Sai Ram. Mere Sai, Mere Baba, Mere Prananath Ram. Mere Sai, Mere Baba, Mere Prananath Ram. Sai Ram, Sai Shyam, Mere Sai Ram. तेरे द्वार पे मैं आऊं, मुझे शांति दो भगवान. तेरे द्वार पे मैं आऊं, मुझे शांति दो भगवान. मुझे शांति दो भगवान. मुझे शांति दो भगवान. मेरे जीवन में साथ रहो साईनाथ है. मेरे जीवन में साथ रहो साईनाथ है. Sai Ram, Sai Shyam, Mere Sai Ram. The reason I chose this bhajan amongst so many great bhajans out there is that I think the one line, Swami Mere Prananath Ram, is truly something that stuck with me when I was first, maybe about 10 years old, when I first heard this bhajan. I think there is nothing as true and as beautifully, succinctly put together as someone who is truly your life force, someone who is your breath, your very existence. And I think, of course, your parents, your gurus, everyone plays a huge role in your development and journey along the way, but almost no one comes close to Swami in really being your life force, your breath, your very existence. So with that, I'd like to start my sharing. So my journey with Sai. So a little quick background about myself. Yes, I'm a doctor. I graduated from NUS in 2018 with an MBBS. So I've been working in the hospitals, and I'm a bhajan singer. I sing as much as I can on Thursdays and on special occasions at Molmen. I am a full SSEHV student in Singapore. I grew up fully in Singapore. I'm Singaporean. So it has truly been an eye-opening journey, and honestly, my journey with Swami has heavily been developed and nurtured by the various gurus I've come into touch with. So I'm truly thankful for the people who he has put into my path and who has blessed me with their teachings and with their honesty and integrity, because I think those qualities have rubbed off truly, and really these speak for the importance of SSEHV in every young person's life, especially in the journey with Swami. And of course, I am a son of Sai. Whatever I do, I think of Swami as a companion, and I think he's always with me, regardless of physically or not. So I'll start sharing with a bit about my Bal Vikas journey. So like I said, initially, I think I was about 8 years old, and my mom was a Sai devotee, but not very intense about it. She had like a Swami photo in her Swami room, and my dad was not really a devotee at that point, but she wanted me to grow up in a culture and in an environment where morals and character values were truly emphasized, and she found out about the fact that there was such a program, very well organized and thoroughly run every Sunday at Molmen Center. So that's how she brought me along, and I joined SSEHV at about the age of 8. And soon enough, I was also parallelly at that point learning Indian classical music, Carnatic music, and music was truly an interest and a passion for me. So at that point, there was just some sharing sessions and some lessons where bhajans came about. And once I heard a couple of bhajans, the whole unique novel concept of singing simple lines, which were easy to sing, as well as the fact that people chorused after you, and the fact that the tempo elevated over time with third speeds, and honestly the morale and the collective energy that bhajans brought about was truly fascinating and mind-blowing to me, especially coming from, let's say, a Carnatic and classical background where it's just one person or a couple of people singing, and it's one person receiving, one person giving the information, whereas in bhajans it's a truly collective energy and collective worship together, which was something absolutely beautiful. So my journey with bhajans began there. And I still really remember this Uncle Bindu, you sing this bhajan Mrityum Jaya in a home sometimes. And honestly, that was the very first bhajan I sang when I was 8 years old and on a Thursday. So every time you sing that, I'm reminded of my very first bhajan that I sang. But yeah, it was a truly eye-opening initiation into Swami's journey. And Bal Vikas wise, I mean, I really have to name some of the gurus that have nurtured me. Auntie Padma Shri has been a huge part of the journey. Auntie Devi, Auntie Vandana, Auntie Indra, various Auntie Dimps, and Brother Deepak, Brother Sengodan. A lot of people have along the way been my gurus in from the age of 8 till probably 18, and they have shaped me into what I am today. SSEHV was truly something special because of not just the lessons, or because of the friends I made, because it felt like for the first time you truly have a beautiful community to belong to. And every Sunday you look forward to coming and meeting them. It was just as a kid, it was fun. It was also something that it felt very complete and wholesome for a kid to come there without worrying about homework and such. You were always learning something. You were working on yourself. You were working towards this wonderful entity that Swami was at that point. Of course, you did not really understand too much, but it was still a very wonderful journey. The next most, I think, important thing that I took away was that it allowed me to collaborate with my peers when I was a bit older, maybe 16 to 18 years old, to frame how Swami was important to us. And I think that is something consciously that everybody, once they grow up, has to make. It's not just receiving and chanting Swami's name all the time. It is also defining what is your relationship with Swami, and also defining the lessons that you want to take away and implement into your life. I think it has to be a bit of a conscious decision. And in my experience, there are some lessons which I'll share later, which I truly still keep with me till today, that guide me when I am in a stressful situation, or am I met with a difficult scenario in my medical practice as well. Sometimes it's very emotional, and you need Swami to guide you with the guiding principles that he has instilled. So I'll just share one of the beautiful things in SSEHV was the collaborations, like I said, and this is when I was about 17 or something. We had a wonderful performance. Funnily enough, we call it the Scientists. This performance was at the Topayo Stadium back when we had national Swami birthdays held at Topayo Stadium. So this was one of Swami's birthdays, and this was what 10 years ago. And I'll just play a quick clip. It was very beautiful because a lot of people, all of these people were from different walks of life, yet we gathered on a Sunday just to meet for Swami's purposes, and we truly grew together, and each of them had different interests musically, yet we managed to combine and put something together which it was in the name of Swami as well. This is a famous song. I'll just play a bit. Can you hear?
No, brother.
Cannot hear, is it?
Yeah, I think you'll have to just select the audio part.
Okay, let's see.
Below there is a button, there is a small box that you have to click.
Okay.
And the sound gets shared, brother.
On Skype itself, is it? Okay, let me see.
So you have to share the sound.
Share sound. Let me just try. If not, it's okay. Yeah, I think it's fine. It's no problems. But anyway, this was Krishnani Begane, the very famous song by the Colonial Cousins, who Hari Haran, etc. were part of. And we sang that, but we changed the lyrics. So we modified it to throw in Swami's name and some of his lessons inside. But it's just I wanted to share that, this kind of collaborative efforts also came out of, you can see that there's a violin, there's a tabla, all of these fusion kind of, there's a keyboard and there's a drum, a guitar as well. So it was truly, you could make something out of nothing. You could really make in Swami's name, he will enable you to do something special, even if conventionally such collaborations were not really possible. So that's one of my beautiful moments with SSEHV as well. So the second, of course, group of things that have truly defined my journey with Swami has been Puttaparthi trips and dramas in his divine presence, of which I honestly have been very, very privileged, thanks to the gurus in our center, as well as Swami himself, to allow me to act. And also really in my defining years, probably when I was, sure, I'll share the video later. The defining years of my life, the first time I went to Puttaparthi, I was 9. And after that, it's been a string of, journeys there. But honestly, through the defining years, I have been able to see Swami when honestly, I think every child's or young person's character development and spiritual development truly begins and occurs in the teenage years. And that's when we have put up performances in front of Swami. So again, that has been something amazing, and I'll share some photos of my experience and share a bit about that. I think this was very, very long ago. If you can see at my mouse or the arrow, this is me sitting there. I was probably 9 years old. What I want to just share about this photo is how beautiful you have this group of like 100 people moving together from Singapore, wearing this red scarf. It will always be etched in our memories. Honestly, I think none of us can forget this red scarf. It's so beautiful, and it was very pure. Like the experience was so pure. Waking up I remember strongly the very first few times waking up at 4 a.m., 5 a.m. And back then there was no like inbuilt heater and stuff in the water, so you had to use like a rod heater if you want to shower in hot water at like 5 a.m. before you go for Nagar Sangeetan and queuing up for bhajans. And as a young kid, there were a lot of chitter chatter, and of course Parthi is a place of silence, so that was some of the learning things. And one beautiful aspect was I remember usually after we get the queue for the Aarti itself. Sorry, not Aarti. Sorry, 1 second. Sorry, I got a phone call. Yeah. So once we get the queue number for to sit in the rows in Kulwant Hall, I remember that there'll be a 2-3 hour waiting period sometimes before Swami comes. And that was always a challenge when you are 9 years old and 10 years old. Like, how do you handle yourself? Because you have to behave, and also you have a group of 30-40 guys with you, and none of us really just want to run around like chipmunks, but you can't really do that. So one of the beautiful challenges I remember that we posed to ourselves was to see who can get the most Gayatris done within that waiting period. So there was like a leaderboard, and I remember there was a personal achievement for me. I hit some 1,500 within that 3 hours once. But of course, then if the faster you do, somebody will come and question you. Hey, are you doing good quality? Can you tell me what speed you're doing? And all these cute little things will happen. So that was one of the very fond memories where honestly we were challenging each other. You can't see the slides?
No, we can see in the in the basic format of the PPT, but when you expand it on the view, then you have to drag now.
You can? Okay.
Yes.
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah. So I think this was a university area, if I'm not wrong. So yeah, if you can see, that was me here sitting here. So yeah, the experience of Gayatris, chanting, competing using Gayatris, isn't that something beautiful? Because of course there are so many ways to compete and waste your time spending 3 hours waiting. You can just fall asleep. But I think one of the beautiful challenges posed to us probably by one of our gurus, which took off within ourselves, was to see how many we could do. So that really forced us to say thousands of Gayatris. And the other thing was that we went for the first few times like this, it was to put up dramas. And honestly, the beautiful thing about dramas is that you never know when you're going to perform or whether you're going to perform as well. It is quite a unique challenge because Swami does not really give you a specific time and date sometimes. And I think he makes you want to yearn it. He makes you earn it. And that was some of the memories, because we really wanted to put forth our sincerity. I think earlier on, Swami, or in the video, someone said Atmanivedana. That was truly one of the keywords and something that I've taken away from my journey. Like, you have to have total surrender to Swami. He knows when you're not sincere. When he comes for darshan, you will know, like, when you're not sincere that day, or you've been like a naughty boy, or you're just not focused, you can sense he will not look at you. He will look away. He'll go straight and sit down, or he may not even come for darshan. This kind of things will happen, and you can correlate it with how you have been, your minds, your mind, your emotions, your thoughts. And I remember there's a clear cause and effect between how I put forth my love towards him and my sincerity towards him, and how he responded physically back then in 2003, I think this was. This was another beautiful experience in Puttaparthi, where we gather in sheds, and we will have really the opportunity to engage with some great people. Like in this case, of course, Professor Anil Kumar came and shared with us. You can see I was leaning forward and listening very engagedly in this discussion. I think this was also in 2003, 2004. And these memories, of course, will be etched in my memory forever. So this is my first performance in 2003. This is Hari, Aunty Padma Shree's son. This is myself. We were Lava and Kusha in the Valmiki drama. This is a wonderful experience. This is my maiden experience putting up a performance in Swami's presence, and also my first trip to Puttaparthi anyway. So this one actually we sang. It was a very nice, beautiful Telugu song. So there is a experience in this drama which I would just like to share, which illustrates just something. So Swami, before the performance, this is Purna Ravachandrika Hall. Sorry, Purna Chandrika Hall. So I was sitting behind in the place where all the actors and kids were sitting, and Swami walked by with assistants, and suddenly he stopped next to me and he spoke to me in Telugu. I am Tamil. I did not understand at all. And then the person next to him, I just said, I was also mind blown, right? You did not expect Swami to talk to you, and mentally sometimes you prepare yourself to kind of have a conversation with him, but it never, honestly, in the spur of the moment, you look like a fool when you don't prepare. So when he tried talking to me in Telugu, I just was blank, and I just said, Swami, I don't understand. And then he said, Acha, Acha. Then I said, Swami, I don't speak Telugu. Then after that, the person who was walking with him, his assistant, just said, translated it to Swami for him for whatever reason. And then Swami said, okay. Then he just kind of gave his blessing and went off. Then this song, little did I know why he asked me, or why he spoke to me in Telugu directly. Because of course we all know Swami is capable of speaking in any language he wants. Then I sang this song. This song is in pure Telugu. And it is very well, apparently this was told to me by people who heard it, that it was very well pronounced, very well sung, and it sounded like a Telugu speaker sang it. So he had already preemptively known that I was going to sing that, and he asked me preemptively started speaking to me in Telugu. And the best part is after the performance, he was very generous. He gave us all watches. And till today, I don't know, but for me, he gave me a special watch. So most people got a Ganesha on the watch he gave. And for me, I don't know why, he called me up and he gave me a watch with Anjaneya on top. A beautiful Anjaneya, yeah. Maybe it was just to tell me to be strong regardless of the challenges I face in life. I don't know, but regardless, it was something at that point I didn't know. Only in retrospect, after comparing with my friends, I realized it was a different watch than most people. And when I received the watch from him, he gave it individually. Again, he asked, "Are you sure you don't know Telugu?" That is when it hit me. Oh no, he already knew that I was going to sing a Telugu song. And then he asked me this. And then after that, he spoke to me in English very briefly. So of course, he could speak in any language he wants, but yet, he was being cheeky with me at that time. And of course, I did not really fully understand the situation. So that was a very, very unique memory. That's me. This is after he gave the prasadam and the gifts. I was very blessed to stand next to him with his arms around me, and there was aarti taken, and this was a truly a mind-boggling experience when it's your first time going to Puttaparthi. Second time, the year after that, 2004, I was also very, very blessed to put up a drama with again the Sai Center, and I was acting as Adi Shankara. And I think that, you know, Swami says, pretend, tend, and then you become. I think honestly that is very, very true. You are, the more you engage in activities that are beyond your comfort zone, the more you will tend to reach towards that, beyond that comfort zone, and you will get out of your comfort zone. That is how I view it. And in my life also, whenever I feel like I am stagnating, I will force myself to step a bit out of my comfort zone, because I know that once you pretend, you will start tending and you will become something different. So in this case, I think that being someone as legendary as, you know, a guru as Adi Shankara, just pretending to be like him for drama allowed me to see things from a different perspective and hopefully develop some of the characteristics that are expected of a devotee. So in this case, I was again very fortunate. This time I was allowed to take Aarti for him after the drama. And again, a very, very funny experience, which I think illustrates the point of knowing your material very well. So this one, again, I was sitting behind in the Purna Chandrika hall, and Swami came by, and then he spoke in Telugu again this time. Okay, he stopped by next to me, and then he spoke in Telugu. Then I said, Swami, I don't speak Telugu again. And then he changed to English. Then he said, how many, sorry, what are you acting as? Then I said, I'm Adi Shankara Swami. He said, oh, acha, acha. And then he said, how many devotees do you have? How many sishyas do you have? At that point, I had no idea. Like in that drama, honestly, there were so many people acting and stuff. And also I'm a bit of like, at that point, I think I was very cheekily confident. I just said some number. I said something like 7 or something. Quickly thought in my head, there are 7 friends who are acting with me, and I quickly just said 7 or something. And then he was like, oh, okay, acha, acha. And then went off. And then after that, the drama happened, and I told everyone this experience. Then they all laughing like crazy, because of course, I think there are 4 or 5 famous sishyas for Adi Shankara, after which there are of course thousands and thousands of sishyas, but the core main sishyas are actually only 4. But I had just winged it and said some funny number, and Swami was like still accepting. Oh, he's like, but he was of course very skeptical. Oh, in retrospect, when I heard what he was saying. And I think this just points towards, you know, no matter what, you can never be too prepared, and you should know your subject material inside out if you want to pretend to be something. Even if you're pretending to be something, you have to know your things very well. So that was a kind of a funny experience with him again. Yeah, indeed. So that was me in the drama. So see, you can see that there are many people there. So I was confused, and I just said some number based on my quick. He tests you in a way that, you know, you never expect to. So this was the 3rd year. So they were very fortunate. We had 3 years back to back, and this was in Kulwant Hall, 2005. I acted as the very famous poet and devotee Potana, Bhakta Potana. And this was the drama itself. I think it was called Atma Nivedana. That is why, you know, that term has stuck with me, because truly this drama depicted how a devotee has to completely surrender everything, including his family, his belongings, whatever he has in life. It's only once you step beyond a period of really owning something and being attached to this material world and truly saying, Swami, there's nothing but you that really matters. That's when he comes and saves you. So that was one of the beautiful experiences. And it was, I think this kind of dramas, aside from being very spiritually enlightening, also really helped me become a confident person, someone who can perform confidently, and all this. Very, very, very beautiful. Okay, so I think enough about my experiences, but of course there have been several other trips. There's one more trip in 2009 where we put up a bank balance drama, and that one was again really, really beautiful, and Swami really blessed us that time as well. So I think for those you know, who grew up with Swami's physical presence around, we have truly benefited by his grace. Of course, he does not have to entertain this kind of drama from overseas institutions, and he does not have to sit through, despite whatever physical issues he was having. Then he still was very patient with us, and just, I think he wanted to nurture us as his students, despite not physically being in his institution in Puttaparthi. Bhajans wise, like I mentioned, bhajans have been really my way of connecting, mainly because I love music, I love the lyrics, and I love the form that bhajans allow us to interact with Swami as well. So in the 2009 journey that I mentioned about, I was very fortunate to be able to sing bhajans in his presence. Again, I think I won't be able to play the audio.
You can, brother. If you stop sharing, you again go back.
Okay.
There is a small button which you select audio.
Okay, let me try.
And you can come back again. Yeah.
Okay, let me try.
It would be very nice to hear that.
Okay. You are inside the video, uncle, by the way. That's why I chose it. Okay, let me share.
You see a small tab at the bottom.
It says share audio. Audio, turn off audio.
Computer audio, there's a tab. Just before you click the start sharing, there is a small button, share computer sound.
Oh dear, it doesn't. Maybe because I'm on a Mac or something, it doesn't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that might be unfortunate. Yeah.
It's okay.
Okay, can you see the slide?
Not yet.
Okay.
Still loading. Yeah, we can see the slide.
Okay, let me just me singing. Let me find.
Brother, is the volume on?
Yeah, but I don't.
It is like that. 1 second. When you press the share screen, you will see before start sharing. On top of that, share computer sound. There is a button to move right. You stop sharing, then what you do is stop sharing. Click the share screen at the bottom of the screen. Then you get a window which gets start sharing, cancel, and top of that share computer sound. You can see the two buttons, right? Cancel and start sharing. The blue color, start sharing.
Yes.
On top of that, share computer sound has small one.
Yeah, I'm not getting that button.
Which screen you are sharing? A desktop?
Yes, a desktop and window. I'm pressing desktop, but I've not.
Right before, okay. Below that, in between that, there is a share computer sound.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not getting it. I don't know why.
Maybe because of Mac.
Yeah.
Brother, can I suggest?
Yes.
I think when you click on the mic, you can see our audio settings, right?
Yeah.
I'm using a Mac also. So can you see microphone?
In preferences, is it? Audio video settings.
No, on your screen itself when you're on Skype.
Yes.
Can you see share link, stop, and all that, right?
Yeah.
So when you go to audio, the mic,
yeah,
they have microphone. No, I'm just suggesting. So do you have a microphone Pro? Maybe you want to try that. I'm not sure. Okay, just try that. And then speakers, you can also try the MacBook, whichever you're using the speakers. Try them, see.
Okay. Can you hear anything now?
We can hear you. Not. Have you started playing?
No, you're not. Sorry. You still hear me, right? Okay.
I can still.
Yeah, you are quite audible.
Okay. I'm just trying to change my settings here. That helps.
Not yet.
No.
Not yet, huh?
Let's see what we can do.
Yeah, I think Skype is a bit. I'm not very used to Skype sharing as well because I'm usually using Zoom. Let me just spend a minute checking on this. So strange. Okay, if not, never mind. I think we'll just just move
on. Just share the link with us.
Yeah, sure. Yes. Sorry about that. Okay. Yeah, so let me just so the couple of bhajans I sang, Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma and one more. Can you well, let me point out. This was me. Uncle Bindu here.
Yeah, 2009.
Yeah. Yeah, looking good. Okay. Anyway, yeah, bhajans have always been an integral part of my journey. So that's mainly what I wanted to share. Swami as a companion. So I think this is where I wanted to share like what truly messages or what core components I've taken away. I think Swami has truly been a companion for me. Like whatever decisions I'm making, I truly pause to think about in a lens of what I've understood that Swami would want me to do and want us to do as embodiments of love and as people who are steeped in love. So I think some of the lessons which I've truly taken away and have stuck with me, this simple prayer that I think everybody knows, it's composed by Swami for his students, but this prayer I think encompasses everything that a true devotee needs to know and have. Take my love and let it flow in fullness of devotion to thee. O Lord, take my hands and let them work incessantly for thee. Take my soul, let it be merged in one with thee. Take my mind and thoughts, let it be in tune with thee. Take my everything, the last line, take my everything and let me be an instrument to work for thee. I think for me personally, the first major decision of my life was also really choosing what to do in my life, what I want to work in, what I want to study and really have as a career. And this prayer was my guiding light. I thought that I had various interests as well. Medicine was not, I was not someone who from day one when I was young was dead set on doing medicine or being a doctor. But it was one of the options, and I was also considering going overseas to study in the US. But thinking deeply about what would really personify Swami's teachings and what would allow me to be a true instrument to work for him, I thought that really if the option presented itself and was something that I could perhaps have the attitude for, being a doctor, because every day to day in your thoughts and in your actions, you are given the opportunity. I wouldn't say everyone does it, but you are given the opportunity to work for someone else. You're given the opportunity to be an instrument for someone's improvement and someone's happiness and health. So that was something that really guided me towards making a major decision in my life. And I think this prayer still, I really go back to it every time I have some major doubt or a decision that I need some guidance for. Light meditation. This is again something that I learned as a kid, maybe 9-10 years old, and has stuck with me throughout. Every time I feel my mind is cluttered, I feel very overwhelmed, and I need some clarity in my life. I think a light meditation really has proven to be something beautiful. If you, I'm sure most of you know, there's also guided light meditation, I think, available on YouTube if you're not very sure of what light meditation is. So I would honestly say it really slows your heart rate down. Physically, I think there are true benefits that may not even be fully described. It clears your mind, it forces you to focus, and the light itself really brightens your day. So I think this is a very beautiful meditation form that Swami has taught us, and I think we all have to use this more and not let it go despite our busy lives when we're adults and going about our daily lives. So I think really I have so much that I'm thankful for. I would really like to thank my gurus. I would like to thank Swami for really being the guru, companion, parent, everything. And I would like to thank Uncle Bindu for inviting me to share some of my experiences. Apologies for any mistakes I've made, and if my sharing was not very professional, because it's my first time doing such a sharing. I am happy to have questions. If not, I'll end with a bhajan first. Another beautiful bhajan which has stuck with me through the times.
Lovely.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Avle Allah noor paaya, कुदरत के सब बंदे इत नूर ते सब जग उजियाया, कौन भले को मंदे, कौन भले को मंदे, राम हरे हरि नाम बोलो, राम हरे हरि नाम बोलो, हरि नाम बोलो, साईं नाम बोलो, हरि नाम बोलो, साईं नाम बोलो, राम हरे हरि नाम बोलो, साई रामा परम दयाला, साई रामा परम दयाला, परम दयाला, परम दयाला, परम दयाला, परम दयाला, मन मंदिर में दिया उजाला, मन मंदिर में दिया उजाला, राम हरे हरि नाम बोलो, हरि नाम बोलो, साईं नाम बोलो, राम हरे हरि नाम बोलो, साई रामा परम दयाला, परम दयाला, परम दयाला, मन मंदिर में दिया उजाला, मन मंदिर में दिया उजाला, राम हरे हरि नाम बोलो, अल्लाह साईं बोलो, मौला साईं बोलो, नानक साईं बोलो, गोविंद साईं बोलो, अल्लाह साईं बोलो, मौला साईं बोलो, अल्लाह साईं बोलो, मौला साईं बोलो, राम हरे हरि नाम बोलो, Sai Ram.
Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Sai Ram, brother Nishant. We can't thank Swami more than this, that what you have presented to us. And I think we are mesmerized. We always were with your voice, but sharing your life journey has made us understand that what Swami has done silently over the years, when he has focused on Bal Vikas, on forming a university, he has prepared the generations for the world to come, for the time to come, in Kali Yuga, to experience the Sat Yuga experiences. And I'm so overwhelmed, brother. There are 3-4 very important. I'll ask you one pertinent question, unless somebody else. I don't mind little exceeding on the time. But very important part that I could catch upon is Prananath. When you said that, brother, and this is the difference we have when Swami doesn't respond, or we feel he doesn't respond, is because we have not considered him as a Prananath. We have not put him as the life force which is running us. There is one big lesson for us, for me especially. Then you said about Swami as companion. Like your eternal journey, this is something we have heard, Brother Hislop, and read his books, where he used to actually visualize carrying Swami every time when he goes, even for breakfast, outside to his office, and he has written about it, he's spoken about it. So that is one thing which you have stressed upon, that we must always consciously believe it, that he's our companion, and take him around wherever we go. Atma Nivedanan, another beautiful lesson that you have given from your talk. And I think from the 9 forms of devotion that I could see, brother, as a doctor, Pada Sevanam is already there, service is there, Atma Nivedanan is there. Kirtanam is there, Sankirtanam is there. So you are already enjoying by Swami's grace a lot of flowers of devotion. Now I want to ask you from that is when you are as a doctor, as a practitioner, you come across a lot of patients, right? And you will in your life as you further grow into this. How much does your connect at that point of time when you see difficult cases coming in? Do you connect consciously that time? Do you see a different way than normally the traditional conventional doctors do it? And how do you feel about it in those cases?
Yeah, it's a very good question. I think as doctors, we see very, very difficult scenarios. Firstly, one type of scenario that we would see is, of course, a very, very ill patient who we may not be completely able to help within our physical and medical capabilities. And the second type of difficult we face is on the other hand of the spectrum, where the patient might be very difficult and mean to us even, and they have a lot of ideas after reading Google or something, and they don't really want to get our help. Regardless of what kind of patient they are, I go back to, there's many stories of how Swami masquerades as a normal person and comes into your house asking for food, and let's say you give food, and then Swami, it becomes obvious that he is actually the one coming there testing your ability to give to a random person, regardless of how that person behaves to you. So I just try to visualize every person as a person who is Swami himself, a portion of Swami or Swami's personified himself, regardless of how their personality or whatever situation may be. So that is the first way I approach it. So this allows me to firstly show a lot of empathy and compassion, because those who are truly ill, beyond just giving medications, which most doctors and most regular people just reading textbooks and literature can give, you need that human connect and empathy in order to be able to make them feel well even towards the end of their life. So I think the fact that Swami has given us so much and given me so much empathy and compassion allows me to again know that possibly, or he is that person or that patient himself. Of course, all of us are embodiments of Swami's image. So I think that really pushes me to treat everyone like Swami, to put it simply. And secondly, if it is a difficult patient as well, or someone who is making your life hard, yet again, it forces me not to get too frustrated, even if, as a medical professional, sometimes you're poor on sleep, you may have missed a meal, these kind of things happen on a day-to-day basis, yet knowing that your companion who is with you is also the person in front of you, kind of forces you to not do anything that is mean, evil, or say bad words, that kind of things.
Good, great. That was beautiful. If anybody has any question or some points to share, please feel free. Otherwise, I have one last question.
Yes, Sairam, can you hear me?
Yes, brother.
All right. Sairam Prashant, Nishant, thank you for sharing it. Actually, Brother Bindu, today's session, I think this is, again, I always see every session as a master plan. Okay, this session today, Bindu took an agenda or as Navavidha Bhakti. Right, he started this is the first session of Navavidha Bhakti. He went through all the Bhakti from Shravanam to Atmanivedan. But when we see the next session with Brother Nishant, he encapsulates all Navavidha Bhakti in one small instance and brought us. It's really grateful because he started with the Namas Shravana, because he started bhajan, hearing bhajan. It was attracted to him, Swami's fold, hearing bhajans. Then he talked about in the Prasanthi Nilayam's Kulwant Hall is chanting Gayatri Mantra 1,500 times. It is Paranam, chanting Swami's name, right? Gayatri Mantram. From there, he is starting the bhajan, and you are going the step by step towards Swami. And he's saying Swami as the companion, he's a Snehidam. He is a friend, right? Then he is going left and he's talking of Padana. It is Atma Nivedanam. And he's also a doctor. Is the world's most beautiful seva option is doctor, because people seeing doctor as representative of God. Because white people are going to doctor to save their life. That is the very, very purpose. They are in a distress. They are in a very difficult condition. They are seeing doctor as a God to save them.
Yeah.
So this is the best save. So that time, doctor is doing the Padasana. So all the Navavidha Bhakti is one person covered in the small incident. So I cannot say it's a coincidence. It's really a master plan, Brother Bindu and Nishant. I'm really, really happy today and to see that, hear that. And over that, sometimes I resemble Srikanth Sola's vibes when you're talking, Brother Nishant. Actually, you know, I'm getting, and we are getting some satsang, other things, Srikanth Sola. It gives that same vibe and frequency. Really blessed. Thank you.
Thanks, brother. And by the way, Brother Nishant didn't know what topic we are going to embark in. I don't think I've discussed, and you look how beautifully he placed all the pearls of 9 devotion through his experience in sharing. This is what master plan is. I have one question. I don't know if others want to ask first. That's fine. Otherwise, I have one very relevant question to the youth as a youth. Okay. Let me ask this now, Brother Nishant. Swami has been very kind even to us. We were, born in Sai family where my mother and father became both Swami's devotees in '69. So that way it was a very seamless flow of culture, religion, or spirituality, or whatever you say this. You have been born in Singapore. You have been in Singapore, right? Singapore has been a very IT savvy country, even if we talk about decades back, right? And then you were into the Sai movement, into the Bal Vikas and all. What I want to know is, looking back, it is just a general question to provoke, to thought provoke all the other parents and those who have youth in their teens. So do you see that by being in the Bal Vikas and into this kind of character building, do you see that you missed out onto the, teenage kind of syndrome where you have parties, you're moving around and you are, was hooked on to cinemas and all those things, which as a culture, it's nothing wrong, but it is one part of the culture that any country has. So you were exposed to that, but you still could manage to save you. So do you think that you don't have any regrets and you have been the best involved in this? And this, in fact, helped you in diverting your energies. And if that is the case, people and youth who struggle too in today's world, how do you want to address them? Like, what are the parents should do, with certain teenage kind of syndromes that exist?
Yeah, it's a very challenging question, Uncle. But I think, honestly, Bal Vikas, like you said, you don't really miss out. Like Bal Vikas is on Sunday mornings, for instance, and let's say bhajans on Thursday evenings. That is still a few hours a week only. Like you're not spending your whole day in the center. So when you go out and you live your life normally, I think what the Bal Vikas and the bhajans and all these interactions with Swami's institutions really teach you, or they anchor you. Like wherever you go, you have some principles and you have a set of morals that guide you. So it's not that you won't be exposed. You will still be exposed to cinema. You'll still be exposed to parties. You'll still be exposed to all kinds of things out there in the world. And not like, because of your involvement in Swami's activities, you miss out on things. You don't miss out on things. You go to those things, but you have a certain sense of clarity as to what is right, what is wrong, what is going to beyond a certain limit, and and what you would want to engage in, that kind of thing. So that I think it guides you. I also feel that for your second part of your question about, I think truly being in Bal Vikas from a young age helps. Being in a environment at home which promotes Swami's activities like bhajans at home or a puja room at home, and encouraging you to do things like that helps. So that way I'm very thankful to my parents as well, because of course they built such a beautiful environment at home. But for the youth who may have other challenges, I think generally what we see is that either they come, somehow they ended up in Bal Vikas with not much, the parents just put them there because they didn't know what to do with them, or they put them there, but there's not too much going on at home to spread kind of Swami's activities on a day-to-day basis. Because like it is the same concept as, let's say you go and see your doctor. You see your doctor for a 15-minute visit every 3 months, for instance, and those 15 minutes are not going to cure your illness for the next 2 or 3 months. You have to do your own proper things for the next 3 months. Take your medicines properly, watch your diet properly. He can tell you, take your medicine, eat this, eat that. But unless you do it properly for 3 months, that 15 minutes is not going to change your life. So same thing, if Bal Vikas, you go for 3 hours in the Sunday, does not change your life unless you really put an effort into implementing some things into your daily life. Like for instance, you can start simple like bhajans. Of course, you can go through simple stories and books that Swami has gone through. And I think the environment at home really helps. Yeah. But of course, most importantly, I still think if you have an environment of people of your same age that you can grow up with in Bal Vikas or in bhajans or in service activities or in dramas like what we've done before, then you will be naturally gravitated towards implementing such actions in your daily lives.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Hey, Sairam brother, one tail end to Nishant. Okay. And I'm behind the sound system for many years in Modeling Center. When there are some singers, when you keep it tough and keep me and Prashant put it short, because keep the sound up, balance it, because that feedback may come because the sound is. But when Nishant comes, we are all happy. Okay, nothing to worry about. That song will go like smooth because we had to go in autopilot mode. Okay, so we are very happy when Nishant, because sometimes 2 songs will be for Nishant, right? And at that time, okay, let us forget Nishant. Just next is Nishant. Similarly, when Binduja sings, we keep everything minimum. Because no need for audio system. All right, just for a Thailand. Okay.
Yes, brother. Yeah, brother. Well understood. Well taken. And yeah, just to come to Brother Nishant's point before we close up, very important what he said is, once you have instilled the values, once the training has been given, like a cycling, when you want to start, you start in a small park and you are there with the wheels on the side. Once he knows, then you can leave him in the world, they can cycle. So the value system, once it is there, even if he goes out in society, parties or whatever, once we define the limits, Lakshman Rekha, nothing hits you because it is Swami's umbrella which is covering you. Beautiful message, Brother Nishant. I think I once again thank Swami to have sent you today, to have given a direction to our future weeks also discussion, inspired a lot of youths who are hearing this and who might look into the video later on subsequently. Thanks again, and thanks to your parents, those who have been so important to have cultured you in a raw stone into a diamond that we all see. Om Sai Ram. Brother Shastri, one of the 108 names, Mahatman, before we close down as we do usually.
Yeah, Sai Ram, before I say 108, I think once again I want to really thank Brother Nishant. I think from the heart you have spoken and you have connected your experiences and Swami's teaching so beautifully to daily life. I think that is what is very, very important. I think just I want to add one more. Every day when we sing Arati, there is one line saying Sarva Pranapate. I think that is as you also already mentioned about him being this, he's everything, obviously. So also we say that Mata Pita Guru Daivam Mari Antayu Nive. So everything is his. So well you have put, Brother Nishant. So wonderful. God bless, and Swami's grace and blessings always be with you. And so today's Swami's 108 name is Om Sri Sai Maheshwara Swarupaya Namaha. And there are many miracles. If I have to share anything on this particular one name. So Swami, starting with Vijayamma and the group of people whom Swami had shown the Trinetra way back in 1940s. And in somewhere in 60s or 70s, one of the sage by name Vamadeva was meditating on the banks of river Ganges and in Kashi for a long time. And he was 85-year-old, and then at that time he decided that he wanted moksha, liberation, and he wanted to jump into the river Ganges and attain moksha. So he literally he jumps into the river Ganges. And then to his utter surprise, he sees a person with a red robe and a halo of the hair around him with a blessing Abhayhasta appearing in front of him instead of Lord Shiva, because his aim was to get moksha, and he was a great devotee of Lord Shiva. So instead of Shiva, he sees this person whom he had not seen at all before. So then again he was disappointed and he was drowning in the water, but the force pushes him out onto the top of the water and he starts floating like a log, just a log, and he floats on the water, Ganges. So he sits up and he says that he has to get liberation, and he again goes into the Padmasana and he gets onto the bank there and he sits there itself steadily. So there was one, around the same time, this one senior army officer who had a dream. And in the dream, he had a dream that Swami was making this Vamadeva to sit in his lap and giving him a laddu. Oh. So that this man, while he was on walk, the army officer, he looks at this sage whom he had seen in the dream, and he prostrates and he describes his dream. Then he says that maybe you are just thinking too much in your mind. Maybe you're kind of a hysteria in your mind. So he talks more. I mean, he wanted to know about Swami and all that. He comes to know about Swami a lot. So eventually the story is this, that he's saved, number one, and number two, he comes to know about the real, the Maheshwara, so who is really physically present there. So he gets really exalted, and he gets to know about Swami further. So this is what the name Maheshwara Swarupaya Namaha, so many stories we can, I mean, miracles that Swami had shown and appeared as Lord Shiva to many people. So that's for today. So Brother Nishant, once again, I love this song. I would connect that song to one Brother Jagdish, who was contemporary to our batches. And whenever I hear this song, I just go into that bhajan hall and Swami sitting in that throne there. Jai Sai Ram.
Sai Ram, brother. Yeah. Maheshwar Swarupaya, in the 70s, there was a photograph which was taken of Swami. And my uncle was there also when the first printout and the things were developed. And then it was Swami's face, but with the jata, with the Rudraksha, with the serpent, everything. The photo when developed, it came out like that. You can Google and see that. So my uncle got that photograph initially when it came out. So again,
brother, in fact, that picture was given to Gandikota Subramanya Shastri.
Okay.
There is a small story behind that picture. It's a great picture, I would say, because Gandikota Subramanya Shastri was an ardent devotee of Lord Shiva, and he was delivering a discourse in Swami's presence on Christmas Day.
Okay.
And he forgets to remember Lord Shiva. Okay, at the end of the speech. Then, in an apologetic manner, he wanted to come and tell Swami that he had forgotten to remember his Ishtadevata. So Swami, then when he, approaches Swami, Swami creates this picture showing that this is my Nija Swarupa, this is my true form, and which confirms that he is Lord Shiva. So you have not done any mistake. So you have not forgotten your Ishtadevata. That's how Swami has proven that picture.
So that picture, my uncle, I think he was in study circle some weeks back last year.
Brother, sorry, one more thing. Instantly at that same second, Gandikota Subramanya Shastri Garu has composed Sai Ishwaraya
Sai Gayatri. Beautiful. All right, we'll conclude today's session with Samasta Loka 3 times. Om Samasta Loka Sukhino Bhavantu. Samasta Loka Sukhino Bhavantu. Samasta Loka Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. जय बोलिए भगवान श्री सत्य साई बाबा जी की जय. Om Sai Ram, brothers and sisters. Have great, wonderful, Sai blessed week ahead, days ahead. Thanks again, Brother Nishant. Thanks a lot for coming together and sharing your story. Sai Ram.
Sai Ram, thank you.
Sai Ram. Sai Ram.
Sai Ram, thank you.